Armada Book 2 Chapter 9 The Trigger Part 2. Meanwhile Binatton arrived near Colonel Jenny Phillips' ships and switched his usual ship to a smaller and older Vinta-class ship. He normally uses a ship as large and as new as Ellie's, but he decided to tow an older Vinta to the area which was within beaming range from an outpost Andrew placed for his earlier operations to procure some robots and Marinti test subjects. He has 5 Norset ships as escort and they parked nearby as well. Jenny beamed herself to Binatton's bridge with Commander Ryester. She introduced Ryester to Binatton and went on to explain their mission to tag the Max and some robots, tag the ship's engines and place video drones in strategic areas. She also told Binatton that her ship will relay all large and remote probe feeds to the Norset ships. Binatton told Jenny to use some of the Norset personnel in the tagging operations for lack of a better thing to do. Jenny was happy to do so since it would shorten her task considerably. Boren approached Binatton. "Great leader, I would like to accompany you to the Trigger's planet if I may." Binatton looked at Boren and said, "Yes, I would need a witness. If he kills me he will let you go to tell the others. Let's go." The two went inside the old ship followed by the crew. It took Binatton's ship 4 days to arrive at the orbit around the Trigger's planet. "Trigger's personnel, Norsets, you are not welcome here. Please leave the area or you will be fired at." Binatton talked with the personnel and, "I am Binatton, Norset Council Chairman, I want to talk to the Trigger." In a few minutes, Binatton, you are cleared to land at the palace grounds. The crew landed the small Vinta on solid ground near the front entrance of a palace. As Binatton and Boren stepped out of the Vinta, 2 Marinti guards dressed in shining black metallic uniform with guns drawn stood beside them. "This way," one of the guards said and gestured towards a building. The 2 walked following the guard. The other guard remained beside the ship. After a few minutes they find themselves in a large plaza with a fountain in the middle and flowers all around. They made their way past the fountain and into a large hall. At the end of the hall is a king's chair and there sat the Trigger. "Binatton, old friend, I cannot imagine you finding me here," the Trigger said, standing and stepping down 3 steps to meet Binatton and Boren. He extends his 2 hands and held Binatton by the shoulders. "Welcome my friend." The Trigger directed the 2 to a set of chairs at the far end of the palace hall beside a large window that opens up to a large field. Binatton introduced Boren. "Yes, I remember you, you were part of the evacuation expeditions," Trigger said. "Yes, and I have since returned," Boren said. "My friend, I would like to invite you back to our capital. You can have your old position, which is the head of our armed forces. Do you remember Tonen?" "Yes, he was my best officer, I wanted him to be my second in command. You were his mentor. Now he is head of our intergalactic armed forces. He will be most happy to be your second in command. But I have my own world now. Here I am king. See that throne, that's my chair. I do not want to be head of any intergalactic armed forces. I already have my own and a very strong one. And I might say better than our old forces. Times have changed, our intergalactic force will always win in any battle. Look, my friend, you have Marintis with implants and robots as your army. They cannot be as good as the real thing. Wait a minute, my friend, you did not come here just to tell me you have a better army than I have. Why are you here? Well, you hold over 1 million Maquis and about the same number of Marintis. These species are friends to our people. They have protected and helped our species and we are bound to help them back. I want you to release these people. To be frank, and I think you already know, I have plans of taking over a few Mac planets. This species are smart, they hold great knowledge of advanced technologies, and I want these technologies. If you were friends to these Maquis, they will give you all the technology you want. But now they feel you are an oppressor. If you release these, I can help turn their opinion of you. I cannot understand why you even care about these people. They are and will always be subservient to an alien species. It's just that I am that alien and now they should follow me. I am sure they have not followed you. They may be subservient but you cannot control their minds. That is their strength. Look, my friend, I know you and you know me very well. I will never lie to you. As your friend, oppressing any race, Maquis or Marinti is not a Norset quality we can be proud of. Our species have been peaceful and we are now very strong precisely because of this Maquis species. I don't see your forces being strong. You arrived in an old Vinta. For a council head you should have better accommodations. I just chose to use this because this is the nearest ship available. And I don't even have an escort. See, that is a show of our strength, to be able to travel freely without fear from any species or race. I don't know about that, but I do know I have a very strong army and I intend to take over at least 2 Maquis planets in short order. Tell me what planets you like and I will ask the Max to vacate them and give them to you. Release your Maquis prisoners and they will hand you any planet you choose. I can talk to them to do this. It's not only the planet, it's the people in it and access to their collective. If I hold enough of them, they will agree to have me access their collective. I personally have access to their collective anytime I want. That is because I am their friend and they trust me. Become their friend and earn their trust and you will have the same access I have. I really do not understand why you care so much about these people. I also care about you. You are my dear friend. For a very long time we have been friends. If I don't get you into our fold, war will be an outcome and I don't want you to go into a war you will definitely lose. That sounds like a challenge. No, I will not lie to you. Our Norset forces will stand down if I tell them to. But the other species will still be too much for you to handle. They are much stronger than you can imagine. Much stronger, and I do not lie. How many ships does our armed forces have right now? Over 2,000 ships. How many ships does the Maquis and their allies have? Over twice our ships. I have 3,000 ships. So I believe I have a chance to win over the Maquis and their allies. You may not understand it, but even if the Maquis only have 100 ships you cannot win over them. Even if they only have 10 ships, you cannot even win over them. I will tell you this, the Morts that took over 14 of our planets and some more of the Bofengs, the Maquis defeated and removed them from all these planets in less than a month total with less than 10 ships involved. I cannot see you doing something like that. Now our ships are as strong as their ships because they helped us become strong. I am so tempted to show you how strong I am, but I will not. Remember, our strength is not in the number of ships we have. It is in our people that run these ships with the technology we have at our disposal. And we are allied with several species including the Intkis and Marantais. That is why I beg you to release the Max and Marantais. I have run a scan of our galaxies as far as 600 MLY and I do not see anything. No ships, no transport, nothing that shows this strength you are talking about. I see you have a Vinta parked outside. That's it. I think we can argue forever, like we have before since we were younger. But all I want is to bring you back and be as before. I am too far gone from our old world. I have my own world now and I want to make it bigger. There are millions of planets you can have. There are so many species you can be friends with. Why do you want to fight them when you can just be their friend and everything comes easy? Because I can take over these planets and rule them as I see fit. Look, I am not afraid of war. You tell me about your strength, I think I am much stronger. They stopped and stayed quiet. Look, let me take you around my palace. Maybe you can see my point. They walked around and the trigger showed Binatan the gardens, the waterfalls, and open fields. I am getting tired and I would like to rest. Let me go back to my ship and rest. We can talk later. You can rest in my palace. No one will bother you. Borin can take a rest as well. But first can we have some food? The trigger led them to a banquet hall with a long table and a lot of food on the table. The trigger sat at the head of the table and the two took the seats on his left and right. The two promptly got some food but they did not eat much. Just enough. After eating the trigger showed them to two separate rooms and they entered. When the trigger came back a few hours later, he found the two asleep. He presumed they got tired from the long travel in a small ship. The two did not wake up until the next day. It was the trigger that woke them up, otherwise, they probably slept longer. The trigger led them to the banquet hall for breakfast. You guys must have been very tired. Trigger said. It was the tension and pressure that I felt. My friend, you must trust me when I tell you I came here because I really want to prevent future confrontation between you and the Maquis and their allies. I fear for your safety. Look, Binatan, I am as old as you. I can take care of myself. I was not able to create an army because I got it easy. I worked hard to get here to where I am now. So thank you for your concern, but I have no intention of losing. Okay, I will return in a month, please think about it at least. If you have really thought about it after a month and still desire to do this, I will leave and not bother you again. How's that? Fine, have your breakfast and you can leave. Okay, I think I have had enough. Borin, let's go. They did not say a word until they reached the Vinta. My friend, what can I show you to let you know that this path you want to go through is the wrong path? Tell me. Return in a month and then we can talk again. Good to see you, my friend. I am just sad we have this argument where I could not let you have your way. Binatan and Borin boarded the ship and they left. Trigger thought, why on earth would he come over and tell me this? He must really underestimate my power. He called his assistant and asked, did you put the beacon on their ship? Yes, my lord. Make sure you have ships follow them. After a few hours, Borin told Binatan that they were being followed. Binatan told the ship commander to plot a course to the planet at least 50 LY away from the nearest hop outpost, but at least 750 MLY away from the trigger's capital planet. After 5 days, they reached the planet and the Vinta went down to the planet and parked in a field beside large trees. From there Binatton and Borin beamed to the hop outposts, and in less than a day they reached their main ship. He instructed the Vinta to fly towards the nearest Norset planet and stay there for a day and fly back to the field in the same planet. Once on the ship, Borin dispatched a probe to follow the ships that were following them. Jenny, Ryester and Captain Ono appeared at Binatton's bridge. Binatton, sir, we have tagged all the robots, all the Max and all the Marantais. We have also tagged all the ship engines and power sources. We have also dispatched several dozen probes around the 3 planets, but none have open transmission until we absolutely need them to at the time of engagement. Jenny said. Very good, Colonel Phillips. Binatton said. How many ships were you able to infiltrate, Colonel Phillips? Borin asked. Jenny looked at Captain Ono. I believe, roughly 2,000 ships, Captain Ono said. The Trigger boasted that he had 3,000 ships. If this is true, we have to find the missing 1,000 ships. Borin said. Jenny thought for a while. The missing 1,000 ships, if in fact the Trigger has them, must come from this area towards the 3 planets. This area would be the Inkeys, and General Man would have sensed something on their way there. This area is towards the Max. If they were here, the Max would have known because there are outposts in this area. The only area left where it would be safe to hide 1,000 ships would be this area here. There are no outposts here and we have no idea what's in there. It should be nearer the Mac galaxies since they intend to attack there, so it should be around this area. Why don't we head over that area and look for them? Ryester said. I think it is important that we determine their strength properly. Colonel Phillips, I approve the mission to look for these ships. Binatton said. We would leave right away, sir. Jenny said and went back to her ship. Binatton told Borin that he wants to return to the capital city and talk to the council leaders. Within 2 hours, Jenny's group and the 5 Marindi ships started to move out from the pack. Jenny followed a curving flight path going back to the Inkeys direction, then towards the Max, and from the Mac galaxies towards the area they believe the Trigger's missing ships were located. It took them all of 10 days to get to the area. Along the way she dispatched a half a dozen probes. As they flew to the area they had 2 probes fly 80 mly ahead of them. It was these forward probes that senses the area within 600 mly away ahead of them, and when the probes reported an anomaly in an area, the ships stopped. They parked near a gaseous planet and lowered their ships to be engulfed by the gas enough to cover them. Ryester and Captain Ono beamed to Jenny's bridge. We were right, there they are. Jenny said as she pointed to a haze in the large floating hologram screen which was 580 mly away from the forward probe. Magnify please, Mark, she said again to her ship's AI named Mark. She named the AI to a famous actor her mom loved to watch, as most commanders have done. That's over 1,000 ships, maybe 1,400 to 1,500. Can they see us? Ono asked. I don't think so, the probes are too small for them and we are more than 650 mly away and not within their sensors. I guess we should prepare to tag these guys. Jenny said. The best way would be one ship would hop to the planets followed by another when that ship arrives in that planet. We do this for several planets until we are within beaming range of the enemy ships. Mark, can you show us a course please? Ono said. Mark plotted a course that showed lighted planets where they would hop to get close to the enemy ships. It took them 3 days to navigate themselves nearer the enemy ships. They parked behind a planet 70 mly away with a star between them and the enemy ships. Mark, tell the others the tagging can start. Tell them to stick to their target quadrants and target objects only, then beam back. Jenny said. In less than a day, half of the taggers, mostly Inkeys, have finished. The next day, they have planted video probes and tagged all the robots and almost all the Marantais. Almost all of the taggers have returned except for a few who were assigned to tag the Marantais in 88 ships. They wanted to make sure 100% of them were tagged. Late in the second day, they saw a ship moving from the Mac side of the galaxy towards the enemy Armada. It seems the ship is a scout the enemy sent out and is now reporting back. Captain Ono quickly sent taggers to the scout ship before it even reached the Armada. By the time it reached the enemy group, the taggers have returned. When the ships showed signs of powering up and moving, they beamed the remaining taggers back. The taggers reported they are not completely sure they have tagged all the Marantais. Mark, tell the 2 probes in front to follow the enemy Armada. Then send out another 2 probes and have them move behind the 2 front probes, way behind like 200 mly away, then plot our ships to follow the last 2 probes. Have the probes follow them wherever they go like a tail. And tell the other probes we left on the way here to return to base. Jenny said as she demonstrated her idea to Mark and he understood. Commander Ryester, Captain Ono and Captain Hyrule and Captain Labrador beamed themselves to Jenny's bridge. Hi guys, I think the Armada will move towards this Mac star system. Jenny said. Mark showed them a hologram of the Mac star system. Captain Ono interjected, we have a hop outpost near that system. I believe there are several MAC collective access consoles there. Hairu said. In 5 days the enemy armada arrived at the area they expected them to be. The enemy ships parked themselves 650 mly away from their target MAC planet. Jenny and her ships were 800 mly away from their back. Let's park ourselves at the back of that oversized planet. Mark, send out the probes to connect our communications to the nearest hop outpost. Jenny said. Jenny, the nearest one is 800 mly away to our port side and I would need 3 probes to get the best communication level. Mark said. Go ahead. And when you connect, inform General Mann and Binatton where we are and about our enemy ships. Captain Hairu reports that a ship has left the enemy armada bound for the Trigger's planets. Mark said. I guess that's their way of communicating across the galaxies. Jenny commented. When Colonel Phillips' ships parked at the back of a planet 20 times the size of Earth, they powered down and prepared for a long wait. Back at the Norset capital planet, Madanite arrived with Borin to meet with the council at the Great Hall. Janan met them to escort them to the Great Hall. Madanite, I am glad to see you again. Binatton said. I am glad you found me, otherwise we would have all perished in the explosion. Great leader, Madanite believes he can help with the Trigger problem. Janan said. I am scheduled to come back in a few weeks. Our people must decide how to deal with the Trigger. I believe you can help Madanite. I know he was also your friend and I think you came from the same city, am I correct? Binatton asked. We grew up together. When I entered the armed forces, he followed me. I specifically requested that he be given in my care so I can train him. Madanite, if you know how we operate now, you must know that the Trigger has already lost the war. If he engages he will lose. I told him even if he has 3,000 ships he cannot win even if we had only 10. I don't understand. How can that be? Madanite asked. One order from me and all his troops will be disabled. All his ships will be disabled. All his robots will stop working. If I give that order all is ended. The council will decide how we will deal with him. I don't understand. We will win without engaging? Yes, times have changed, dear Madanite. This is really just an internal Norset problem, and if the council decides to stop him, he will be stopped in 1 day. The council will meet tomorrow. They know all the facts and were apprised on our operations. They just must decide to go or not. They will probably give him one more chance. This is where you can help. After that, I will simply give the order and it will be ended. After 2 weeks, Binatton was summoned before the council and given their decision. And as expected, the situation caused great shame to the Norsets. They want Binatton to arrest the Trigger and bring him back for trial. They told him he can ask peacefully so he can come on his own. If not, he is authorized to disarm him and arrest him. The council thinks this is a simple arrest process? Madanite asked. It is, and I would have to carry it out the way they want it. It took them a while to come out with this decision. It must have affected them profoundly. Binatton said. But he will engage us. Madanite countered. Yes, but that is not a problem. By now Tonin is on his way to the Trigger's planets with more than 1,000 ships. His job is really to transport the Marantais and Macs out of harm's way. Also, the Trigger has about 1,500 ships parked near a Mac galaxy and our allies are awaiting our order to disarm the Armada. How many ships does our allies have? Madanite asked. Colonel Phillips has 4 ships with 5 Marindi ships backing her and they are just sitting there waiting for our order. We would have to send some transport ships to Colonel Phillips to transport the prisoners to a Norset holding planet. 9 ships to disarm 1,500 ships? I am really out of touch, great leader. Madanite exclaimed. Don't worry about it. We will leave in 15 days through the hops, then on to the Trigger's capital planet. Binatton said. After 15 days. Binatton returns to the Trigger's planet with Madanite in the same small Vinta which carried the same beacon the Trigger planted. Trigger recognized his old mentor. Madanite, old friend and mentor. I am very glad to see you. I know you left the Norset world in one of the expeditions. It has been a long time, my friend. You know why I am here, right? Yes, but you probably know already, I cannot change my position. I believe I have prepared enough and I will win in any battle I engage in. Dear Sinatan, the council leaders have ordered me to ask that you to surrender peacefully and bring you back to the capital to answer for your actions. If you do not choose to come back, I will have to disarm you and bring you back in restraints. You sound so serious. How in the world can you disarm me? I have thousands of ships. I have millions of armed fighters. Tell me, Madanite, how will you do that? I don't really know. But I implore you, my friend, to heed the council leaders. Madanite said. See, I also do not know. I have been mobilizing my forces and we will leave on schedule. Okay, I will still give you 25 more days. On the 25th day, I will disarm you and arrest you within the day if you do not contact us by then. All in a day, dear Bynoton? Trigger asked. Yes, all in one day. I will also disarm your ships parked near the Mac Galaxy in the same day. I am so lost now, Bynoton. But okay if you insist. I hope you will not take this personally. I believe I am doing something good for our species. Bynoton and Madanite left, and following the same procedure, they found themselves at Bynoton's main ship. On the 24th day, Tonin arrived with 1,000 ships. Madanite, it is good to see you. Supreme Leader, 200 transport ships and 200 of my ships have arrived 4 days ago near Colonel Phillips' area. I have reviewed the preparations and I conclude that we are ready. Tonin said. It is sad for me to know about my friend and sadder still that I was not able to be of any help to bring him back. Madanite said. Don't worry, Great Mentor, he will not be harmed. We will have to bring him before the council. Tonin said. I gave him until tomorrow to decide. Let us talk to him tomorrow for the last time. I plead of you, Great Leader Bynoton. If it means a lot to you, we will do so. By your word, Great Leader Bynoton. Tonin said and disappeared. The next day, Bynoton and Madanite arrived at the Trigger's palace to plead for the last time. Madanite prostrated himself in front of the Trigger, hoping the humblest act for Norsets will soften him. But the Trigger was unmoved. Bynoton embraced the Trigger, as did Madanite. Unknown to the Trigger, he has just been tagged by Bynoton. I am sorry, dear Sinaton. I have to arrest you now. Tonin, please. Bynoton said. And with that order, the three were beamed in front of Tonin, and 2 Norset guards immediately put restraints on the Trigger. Even if you arrest me, my army will still engage you. Please look out the displays and windows, dear Sinaton. The Trigger saw millions of his robots in outer space. He saw engines from his ships lumped together and dumped on the field behind his palace. He saw the Marantis all in one place and unmoving without their communications devices. He saw the Macs being transported to the ships for medical treatment. Several screens appeared and showed Trigger's ships deployed in the Mac galaxies. He recognizes them from the design and colors. Tonin explained, Dear Sinaton, your 1,500 ships near the Mac galaxies have all similarly lost their engines and power sources, the Marantis disabled and the robots beamed out in space. We will collect all those robots when we need metals for our formulators. How did you do this? I did not see any ships. Trigger exclaimed. I tried to tell you, but you would not believe me. Bynoton said. Tonin, you must teach me the new ways of the Norsets. Madanite said. It would be my greatest honor, dear mentor. Tonin said. The guards led the Trigger out for the journey through the hops for their home world.